Oh, good, man. Welcome, Daniel, friend of the show. Daniel Gandar says he made a shelf this weekend. Good, man. A floating shelf? What kind of shelf did you make? Oh, good, man. Let me turn my sound off. That's not cheating to use pocket screws, to use pocket holes, man. That's just good carpentry. Pocket holes work, you know? So don't let the stuff I tell you on my channel make you think that the only woodwork you can do is straight joinery. That's not true. Pocket holes are a very effective and strong joint. That's why Craig's made so much money on that jig. But you can do floating shelves too, where you use the dowel and put it straight into the stud. We can talk about those one of these days. I definitely have done a number of those. They look really cool too because they don't have any visible support. Right now I'm trying to treat this board with a combination of linseed oil, beeswax, and denatured alcohol, and it's not turning out great. I can tell you, it seems more like I'm spreading denatured alcohol with lumps of lipids in it. And we'll see how it turns out after a couple of days, but I'm not optimistic. Right now, I mean, the grain is up. I feel like it's getting in somewhat, but, you know. Oh, you bought pre-surfaced material. Yeah. Yeah, well, even then, those little things, man, you know, sometimes you got to do it simple. You know, it's not, you know, practical to do the hard way. You need a shelf, you need a shelf, you know. Now, if you're using anything linseed oil, whenever you apply it, whatever rags you use need to be disposed of carefully because apparently when it dries, it can heat to a very hot temperature and spontaneously combust. Welcome everybody to Dad's Workshop. Right now, I have this funky combination of beeswax, denatured alcohol, and it's actually beeswax and linseed oil that I put together, and then applied denatured alcohol to try to thin it out. And I'm applying it to the rungs. I'm not going to apply it to the main structure yet. I want to stain the rungs top and bottom. You doing a polyurethane coat on there? See, what I feel like I'm ending up with is bars of wax that really have to be applied crudely by hand, and I don't really like that. You know, it was worth a try. I think I wanted to see could I make a real natural coating with linseed oil and beeswax. I feel like I just wasted beeswax, but we'll see. Maybe there's a way I can thin it out and apply it a little better. The thinnest stuff I want is kind of in the bottom, and problem with linseed oil too, man, is if it goes in lumpy, you end up with a lumpy and uneven coat. I'm gonna pack that up. I don't feel like that's doing anything. Basically what I feel like I got right now is a lightly oiled linseed, like a lightly oiled piece of wood where denatured alcohol is now soaked into the wood. Not my favorite stuff, petroleum distillates. So I'm always like a little hesitant when I use them. You know, this is not need to be a food safe surface, so I figured I would try using some denatured alcohol to thin my beeswax and tung oil. I'm thinking maybe I need to come up with a better solution. Take these rags and put these out. So Daniel, since you're here, man, I want to show you how this is not a really good piece of wood to do this on, but I'm going to use it anyway. I'm going to show you how I did my curves earlier today. I wanted to tease this out, if you're still there, Daniel. Yeah, definitely the stuff has to be warmed. I'm a little hesitant to do that. Let me show you what I got going on with this. So how I figured out how to cut this curve. Let me show you what I did. And you can do this with nails too. Let me back this camera up a little. So what I did was I put these clamps even with each other. Let me take a smaller workpiece. This is kind of big. So here's an imaginary workpiece. I have my clamps. One clamp you can't really see on camera, but I got a clamp over here and a clamp over here. Let me clamp down. I saw a guy do this with nails too, but if you line the clamps up evenly, or you put your workpiece in here like this, it should work like this hopefully. Make sure it's even. But what you got to do is you got to take your scribe tool, your marking gauge, make a point on there with a pencil. So I want my curve to come down this amount. First of all, I'm measuring in from both sides. Let me make sure I measure in the amount I want, usually half. And I make a point right here. And then what I was doing was I was taking a flexible piece of material, furring strip, and then you pull the furring strip down, right? And I don't want to break it here, but you got to pull it against the clamps. Let's do it the inverse way here. Push it up until it meets that, and I don't want to break it here. But I'm going to meet that curve, that spot. And I don't want to break this piece, but what you got to do. Oh, that's not going to work. I'm going to put my clamp over here because I did this earlier, it worked. You're with me thinking it out. We're thinking it out. This Heather's going to come here and adjust my camera in a second so we get better angles and stuff. But we got our workpiece right here. What you got to do is make a mark in the middle, and I can't break this, it's a little too short. And you bend your piece down here, like to where your point is, and draw your arc like that. That way your arc will come out even on both sides. It's even better if you set two edge points. This was how I did the curves in my braces on my first piece. I took this, pulled it back, stretched it into the place where it was in that, at that dot, and then drew out my curved line. So it's really easy to get an even curve that way, is what I figured out today. So wanted to let you know that. Take 2 clamps between your work pieces, pull your furring strip or whatever your flexible material is to that dot or to that point, and then make your curve off of that. This is just hack stuff. I'm not these, I don't have the shop or all of the special stuff to do, you know, all the fancy things. So we got to do it the best way we know how. Yeah. Welcome to Dad's Workshop, ladies and gentlemen. Start of the week, you know, we start a little slow sometimes. Did some curved braces. I might take one of those out so you can see one of those in a second. You can see I've cut curves into my braces now on the bunk beds. Those were done with that technique, and they are accurate and even on both sides. The other ones I did with different shapes. So I wanted to add curves to the bunk bed project. Yeah, it works as a trick. I think the best way is to actually take some nails, pin nails in and actually pull it between the nails. I've seen people do that. But if you're in a pinch and you're trying to make a curve, make a point, find 2 clamps and line them up, then take a thin piece of material, you know, piece of furring strip, a piece of plastic, and stretch it between and line that up that way. I'm gonna pull one of these braces out so I can sand it a little bit. The bed does not like it when I do this, so I gotta do it carefully. The other way, like I said, is to nail a couple nails in and use the nails as I don't want this to fall because these tips will break. This chalk on here we were using this to see how this tenon was cut and how it lined up with the inside of this. So here we have a curved brace that I'm going to work on for a little bit. When I first built this, I put these stickers on to be able to tell me the parts. You know, once I got familiar with it, I didn't really need them anymore. So now I gotta get these stickers off without leaving sticky residue on the wood. Well, ideally without leaving sticky residue on the wood. So this was one of the 2 braces I cut with that technique. It worked for me. You can see I still got some lines in here. So I'm gonna work on sanding this by hand here for a little bit because it's Monday and we start a little slow here. I don't mind doing that. I need a decent piece of a really crude grit paper here, like a 40. Hey, post a picture of your shelf project on the Discord, Daniel. When you get a chance, man. That's your homework. How dare you use a pre-finished shelf? After everything I've taught you, you know? Using a pre-finished shelf. You should be ashamed of yourself. Yeah, I probably like cruise around the underside of the bed and sand the inside of the bunk bed. Looks like it's gonna be a little slow today. Daniel's here hanging out.
Yeah.
Little lint on there. Okay, I'll put this piece on and maneuver my way under the bed, I guess. break. So it's gonna come in some more. I'll put this bridle joint on so that we can have a little more stability while I work over here. Hmm? Oh, clip it to me.
Oh, Hank's here.
Oh, great. Welcome, Hank. I like to think so. Hank says beauty, eh? I say yes. Yeah, I'm really proud of it so far. So I'm just going after these little sharp edges inside. Probably should put my little mask on. Shout out Hank. Hank put pictures of his project on the Discord. He did a steamer chest, a beautiful job on a steamer chest. So shout out Hank for that steamer chest content that you put on the Discord. Appreciate it. I definitely think the first time that I got into doing this was when, here comes the Cub Scout story. When we did Pinewood Derby cars, when I was in Cub Scouts, we made cars that we raced, and they also had competitions for best show car. I would either go for speed or I would go for show. You know, I wouldn't try to do both. I had one that did really well. My dad and I worked on it really hard. We had it like weighed out perfectly, aerodynamics were perfect. Just a piece of pine from the hardware store, you know. Something about the way it sands, the way it smells. All of it reminds me of that. Shout out for Heather working the camera. Appreciate that. So the tree motif would go up the post onto the little thing, and then occasionally broken up with like a little, maybe a little bird, a little apple, something like that. That's my pipe dream type of design. Crowded. Am I still in camera? No.
Do the oblique pieces get a peg, or do they stay put without them?
The oblique pieces, the ones on the end. All of these braces get a peg. I'm going to put one peg on either side of all these braces, and it's going to go all the way through so it can be popped through. Yeah, be one peg here, one peg here, one peg here, one peg here, and then on. And generally, like if this was a house, there would be two pegs on each one. But I think one peg is enough because like we can climb up on this. I can lean back and there's no pegs in it, you know? So pretty sure one peg's gonna do it. I like to overbuild anyway. One peg, if you're watching me with the camera, I'm gonna have one peg here. It's actually gonna go right there. It's gotta be centered perfectly. You've gotta have a peg here. That's why I'm leaving the layout here. This needs to come in a little bit, so I might have to work this joint because I think what's holding this out is that this isn't in enough. Peg here, peg here. Then from the other side, there'll be a peg going through there and a peg going through there. And going through, I mean, it's gonna be tricky because you it's gotta be completely straight. So if you don't get it completely straight, you mess your peg up. And that makes me nervous. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the peg hole through here first, put the piece in place, like either try some kind of a spray paint or water or something to see where that peg hole is gonna be, and then we'll drill through the piece. We'll put it back in place and we'll finish drilling is what I was thinking. And then I have regular old dowel. I'm not gonna trim my own, dowels. I'm just gonna use regular poplar dowels. I think one of these this is like 5/8 of an inch, and this is like 3/8 of an inch. So like a little bigger than both my Forstner bits that I got. So I got two different Forstner bits, brand new ones, to drill holes. Probably the best way to do this is to put the dowel through, then cut it off with a flush cut saw. So the dowel will go in pretty much in center there, be cut off with a flush cut saw. If you can see where that would go, there'll be one right here. We'll go in there. Right? This is all important information, educational. Got to be one there. That's why it's good I still have that layout, because I know where that housing and the tenon is in there. And then one down here in this space here, right? With one peg per end of the brace, I don't think this thing will move at all. It already is. It has a little bit of give, but it's extremely sturdy. As you all know, because we built this to be sturdy. You all helped me with this. Boom, boom, and that's how we're gonna peg it. Does that make sense?
That thumbs up. It looks really sturdy.
Good. Good, appreciate it. Yeah. So we'll do that. Put these back, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. Just seems like it's a normal. It's kind of how Monday night rolls out a lot. Yeah, I'm a little nervous about it. Somebody said, what is the thing that's the hardest the other day? I think it was Daniel who asked me that. And I said the braces, but I gotta say, I think getting the braces fit with the pegs in there properly is gonna be the most nerve-wracking thing to me. I've already started working these. I can see this brace fits like almost perfectly here. This one needs a little work. I hate to show the imperfections of the build, but like if you were back behind here, you'd see there's like a 1/4 inch gap right here. This brace has to be, I gotta work this tenon a little bit here to get it to come in more flush so that when we put that peg in, it's going through support wood. This one's really good here. I think it's the first one I cut too. This one's solid, like it meets up here and the shoulder connects. Yeah, so that's the way I want them all to be. You know? I was thinking about a rope ladder today too, but I guess you don't want the kids to like strangle themselves on accident. It already looks like a gallows.
It could be secured on both sides. It would just be a hanging rope.
A rope with knots is what I was thinking, man. Because I can build ladders and stuff, but I'm worried about adding weight to the thing. And just, I don't know. Maybe I should just bite the bullet and build a ladder. I have a couple designs I've already come up with. I'm afraid to put any more joinery in here, so I don't want to put a ladder that's going to join through here because I've cut all these different joints in here. I feel like it's been cut to the max. I can't take any more joinery, but I'm probably wrong about that. I probably could take some more. Just my woodworking instinct, which is what I based this whole project off of. I didn't use any plans. I built the whole project off of just gut instinct. My gut instinct tells me trying to attach a ladder in here is a bad situation where if I cut too much out of this, it's going to break straight through the middle.
Daniel said you can decorate the ladder with faux rope ladder.
Yeah, that's true. I thought about that too, Daniel. That's actually a really good idea. I did think about a fake rope or like a wooden ladder with like some rope in it.
Yeah.
You know, rope knots.
Pirate style.
Yeah. I've also, on my runs, there's a lot of cotton laying on the ground everywhere. And I was like, what can I use this cotton for in this design? Every day I go for my runs, I look at the cotton that's laying all over the place on the ground. And I'm like, what can I use this cotton for? I feel like it should be useful for something. Maybe, I was like, maybe I'll use it to paint the stain on or something. I was like, just seems like it would be interesting to use raw cotton for something. My mom's made some wreaths with it before. It's just wasted, so I hate to see stuff wasted like that.
Kate said I grew up on a bunk bed. Cedars, I believe. We made it rock with our antics.
Oh yeah, that's the way we did too, man. I think we had a bunk bed that was like made by my great grandfather that then was taken apart, sawed into 2 twin beds, which is kind of the opposite, you know, of what most people do. My brother didn't want to be in the room with me, so yeah. I was like Julian. I didn't want to be alone. This one, this you would think that's bad, but I actually think this is fairly well fit here. This leg has to come in a bit here. I gotta take, did you hit yourself?
Yeah, I got
Oh
myself
no.
in the knee.
That's a terrible spot too. I gotta take an angle grinder to this right here. Big lump of something coming out. That's like what you see when you see the braces put on structures. Sometimes when they're tight, it's not. Cramp.
incident part in an RCA.
What?
We need an incident report in an RCA.
Oh, for you hitting your knee? You're lucky, like none of my students are in here, dude. That's like, they'd probably be talking like that. I'm surprised none of them have popped in here. Daiki will probably pop in here. He's been on all the videos. Let me get this brace from the inside here. I'm using the crudest grit sandpaper. This is like 40. So I'm trying to get all of these sharp edges off. And then you can use a little finer sandpaper. See over here, I still got my layout, so when I put that peg in, I'm gonna have a really good idea of where that goes. I'm hesitant to sand off any of the spots where I put layout marks because I wanna make sure my pegs are placed exactly right. All right, you can swing around while I do these. One last touch up on these. Be careful with your knees. Watch out for that peg there too. I explained early in the video, most of y'all weren't in here, how I got these curves, and they're cut accurately, so they're identical. The way I got them was by taking 2 clamps and taking a piece of furring strip, pulling it down, and then I had a point drawn on each beam. And I drew the curve to that point from 2 other points that I had in place. Now you could do this with 2 nails or 3 nails. I didn't want to mar up the wood by sticking nails into it. And I was in a bit of a time pinch, so I was like, let me just try to use these 2 clamps. And it worked really well. Just piece of wood, your workpiece, 2 clamps, and then you have a point drawn on there. You pull the piece, the furring strip down, and use that as your long curve. Seems like it should be a tool that does that, but I haven't looked it up. It's not like a compass job though, because compasses are for spheres or circles, and it's not a circle. It's more like an ellipse or an oval. Obviously, y'all see this tenon needs to be sized a little bit. Sized down, probably. Tough day at the office. Is there a State of the Union today? That was my excuse last time. I was going to show y'all how I make the stain out of linseed oil and beeswax, but it didn't turn out the greatest. So like Daniel said, I might have to warm it up, you know, and use it in its liquefied form. But yeah, I did devise a sealer with beeswax and linseed oil. I thought Hank might be interested in that. It's solidified completely solid when I finished it. Let me show you what it looks like. This is kind of what it came out to when the beeswax and the linseed oil cooled. We have a little short we're gonna put out probably tomorrow where you can see the process. We might wrap it up for today. It's a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, Dan, you got a question?
You said you mentioned Craig earlier. I did use the pocket hole jig.
Yeah.
What commercial tools or jigs do you think are better to purchase than to make yourself?
Well, I don't think that there is a better pocket hole jig than Craig makes, at least on the market. That's why they kind of own the market for pocket hole jigs. Otherwise, just make one yourself. And the way you would make one is, let me show you. If you look at a Craig jig, it's nothing but a miter cut piece of plastic with holes cut in it. What you have to do is you got to make yourself a block with miter cut. This is not one here, but this is the closest thing I have to the look of it. You would have a block here, and then you take a Forstner bit and you put the Forstner bit through to a certain width, and then take a smaller bit and go through there with that. And then you take, every time you drill, you put your wood up against this. It's going to drill into that piece at a 45-degree angle, right? And put your screw holes in the right place to be able to make, let me show you two miter cut pieces, right? I have two over here. So that when you drill into them, you'll have a hole in there instead. Like, what you have to do is you got to miter cut yourself like a block or a couple boards, and then you have to devise a hole system that goes through here, starting with a wide hole to a small hole. It can be done yourself, but the easiest way to do it is with a Craig jig.
So what would you recommend? Buy it or make it?
Craig jigs are like $90, but if you have the means, buy one. I ruined mine the very first time I used it, or I broke it because I didn't read the instructions completely. It's possible to do that with Craig jigs. So, but it still worked after that. It was just, it's a little tricky because you put your screw gun down into this form, right? It's like a blue wedge. If you just make one out of wood, I'm sure it does the exact same thing. You have to lay your board against whatever your jig is and clamp it to your jig, right? Because the Craig jig actually has a little clamp that comes with it with two little suction cups. So you clamp your workpiece in there. If you design one and it's at a 45-degree angle and you clamp your workpiece up against this, or you have a way to clamp it up, when you screw through your jig, it's going to put those screw holes in your miter cut piece, which is usually when you're doing Craig jigs, it's usually miter cut or butt joints, which is just square to square, right? So I hope I answered your question. I am not a cabinet maker, but I have used pocket holes before multiple times. I do not think pocket holes are cheating at all. I think people make really good furniture with pocket holes all the time. So pocket hole jig's going to be involved with, I can do some more research. I mean, that's my job to do that. I'll get back to you with what I think the best pocket hole jig is you can make from home, right? But otherwise, the prefab Craig ones are really good, very popular. I've had people want to buy mine off of me before because I didn't use it that much. I think it's long gone. I think it got stolen. But yeah, so generally with a Craig jig, it's nothing but just a miter cut piece of wood with a clamp system on it and some holes drilled in it at different widths. And it's nothing but a countersinking miter jig. You're countersinking screws. You want the screws to go all the way in to the meat. I like Craig screws, so I use them on everything. In fact, there's Craig screws in this as well, but they are expensive. So I realize that. It's a means thing. Do you have the means for it? Oops, I need to do that.
Paint understanding also allows you to see things close up. Being open to it is a thing. We used on T-Will yesterday and today.
Yeah, well, it looks like my viewers have gone up a little bit. That's good. Yeah, so there's a stopper. Yes. And the stopper will stop you from drilling into the plastic of the jig. So you make sure you read the book too when you get it. I mean, I'm not the type that usually does that, but it seems self-explanatory, right? So when I drilled into the thing and I caught some of the plastic, I was like, ooh, that doesn't seem like that was right. Plus, I could have used the wrong size bit. My Craig jig was secondhand. I bought it from a pawn shop. I would get a lot of tools from a pawn shop because pawn shops aren't a good place to sell things, but they're a good place to buy things. You can get tools a lot of times from the pawn shop. My chainsaws, my circular saws, some of my chisels that are antique, all from pawn shops because those guys get their tools for nothing. You're going to get a good deal. You can whittle them down,
Yeah,
to use
literally.
a woodworking term. Yeah.
In general, is there any tool that you prefer to buy than build?
Um, Tool. I mean, certainly I hate building jigs, so I'm all about buying the correct jig if you use that. But tools. I was looking at a bench vise recently, so here's a good answer to your question. The question is, are there tools that are better to buy than to build? I think that like a good bench vise, which is holds your wood. I need one for my bench right now. It clamps your wood so you can work upward on your workpiece. These only clamp things down to your workbench. Those are usually, a couple $100, but they're well made. You can get an Irwin metal one from the Lowe's, but those are trashy and they'll mess your wood, they'll mar your wood up. So to answer your question, yes, a bench vise from a reputable maker is something you want to buy and not make, if that makes sense. Trying to think any other things, like any given tool. Now, if I had metalworking skills, I would probably make my own chisels, right? Like we've talked about Mr. Chickadee on here before, a famous YouTuber who makes all of his everything from scratch. House is made from scratch, but so are all the tools, hand tools, everything. Impressive, but he has metalworking, leatherworking, and woodworking skills. So he's like a triple threat when it comes to that stuff. Yeah, not reading the instructions. That's something that I think everybody experiences just to a certain extent, right? So let me put this piece back too. And I think I showed you all this the other day, that this was my original idea for a ladder, because these beams came from my son's previous bed. My idea was to take these. I want it because they're big enough I could squeeze them in there. I just need to cut one more dado right here and then make these into 3 ladder rungs for the bed. The only problem is it doesn't match the wood because this is old, like longleaf pine, and it seems a little heavy and I don't want to cut any more joinery. So Heather and I were talking about a solution today that involves a ladder that leans or hooks to the top. So I'm trying to come up with a solution. Look, I've got little lady like cucumber beetles on here. Hope they're not eating the wood. These used to be floor joists, as you can see with the way the bottoms are. Yeah. Yep. Heather and I are going to start decorating a tree motif into these braces, so it'll have like little tree branches. That's our idea. We've been working on that. It's like a working abstract kind of concept. You okay? Yeah, let me see that. So this is India ink here. We think we're going to approach this by, and we can put some of our AI images that we pulled up on Discord, but we're going to use India ink, and we're going to draw basically like a tree motif into this, and this will be one branch of the tree. And then the other braces will be other branches of the tree, which fits the shape and stuff like that. So we'll have this will be our approach. Now, when we do it, we're gonna have it we'll probably have it drawn in on pencil lined in first. But this is India ink, and it seems to work well to do that. So
it's gonna join from here up, so it has to follow the grain, so it'll be predetermined.
Yeah. And then I had another idea, which we'll decide on as we go forward. But, with this work in progress, we are trying to build this thing with love and not rush anything. So the whole idea is to build something memorable that can last for generations. And there's no time limit on that, as long as, we, can get use out of it. As long as you build it quick enough to get use out of it. Haste makes waste. Don't rush and ruin things. It's like I did with the Craig jig. Take your time. work on things slowly. We've been working on this since what, December, November? I don't know when we started this.
December, I think.
December. So December, January, February, and I work on it after hours.
I think
too.
it was after the door.
Yeah, after the door. So that was like in December, I think.
Hank said a hand drill, but then he also said he has to run. He's gonna go for the
Oh
hand
yeah,
drill bed.
we're gonna get going soon too. He said a hand what?
Hand drill. He said I have a few, and I'm sure I don't have skills to make them.
Oh yeah, definitely a hand drill. If he's talking about an old school
Those
drill,
would be cool to have. You gotta get some of those.
those like those. That's the way that that dude, Mr. Chickadee, does all of his holes with a hand drill. You know, but his bits are always hand sharpened, so he handmade his bits and hand sharpened them. Yeah. You like my little pantomimed hand drill? Click that like button. We got 4 likes today. It's kind of a slower day. Click that like button. Subscribe to the channel. It's Dad's Workshop. We're walking around the shop today talking about stuff, just hanging out, just like we usually do. So it's about you, though. This is oriented towards you. So I want to answer your questions. And I want to make sure I engage you all. And yeah, take care, Hank. Friend of the show, Hank. Long time. Appreciate you. Appreciate Daniel. Anyone else who popped through today. We'll be back tomorrow. Usually Tuesdays go a little bit better than Mondays, and we'll start drawing motifs on these probably soon. I have to add one more board. Show this, Heather. There needs to be one more board here. Let me show you why I think that is, wherever I set the measuring tape. Twin mattresses are 75 inches. I can get away with about 2 inches on that end and maybe another 2 inches on this end. The reason I'm hesitant to finish this bed before I know is because right here, 75 inches, if I can get this thing straightened out. "75 inches puts it through right to about right here, right? You see where 75 is? So if I move this to right here, if the mattress starts right there, which is okay, right? Or about right here, where's 75?
Oh, it's like right on that, right at it's before the post.
Before.
The post can come in a little bit.
All right, so
It's like right on the line there.
right on the line. So it's not bad then, because I couldn't do that. I couldn't measure it by myself. But if the mattress goes right into this bridle piece right here and comes all the way down, I just want to make sure there's enough support for it on the end. So I thought I might have to take a board and squeeze it into here, you know. But it may be when we try it out that the mattress does. Wouldn't be the first time that tape got damaged. Yeah, so I think that I want to make sure that the mattress has support down here. So that was one of the things I was thinking. Structurally, that still needs to be done. Otherwise, structurally, it's good, you know. You can climb up on it. I don't want to knock the boards out of place. But yeah, I got my microphone on too. So not big on heights either too. You guys know that? I'm not a heights guy. My sons are better with it. Imagine that my eldest son is going to be the one who sleeps up here. So, and he sleeps still too. I'm not going to have a guard on this thing, so he's going to have to sleep kind of still. All right, so I guess I'll wrap it up and find a way to get down from here. Yeah, love you all. Appreciate you all. Dad's Workshop. Click that like button, subscribe, join the Discord, leave a comment, check out the other videos. We're out.